Hello and welcome back to On the House. Today we have Bill Stathopoulos, a leading player in outbound and GTM strategy. By the age of 28, Bill had already scaled an agency to 1 million ARR, working with clients like Nestlé, Revolut, GE, and Singapore Airport. And along the way, he's helped startups scale from 0 to 5 million in less than 18 months. He's authored a book called Cold Email Secrets. He's trained 2,500 plus marketers. He's built the speakers lineup for AdWorld, which is, I believe, the largest advertising conference in the world, 50K attendees, 100 speakers. He's interviewed legends like Seth Godin, Rory Sutherland, Scott Galloway, and he's been named a top lead generation voice on LinkedIn in 2024. So today Bill is the CEO of SalesCaptain, where he builds outbound campaigns for B2B companies, and he also hosts the London Play Club. So without further ado, let's dive straight in. So welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on today. Welcome, Bill. So, look, let's start off by 28, you scaled an agency to 1 million ARR. Can you walk
Yeah.
us through the story of how you did it?
Yeah, so that was one of the previous, and the first agency I actually started working at. I joined not even fresh out of college. I almost dropped out because of how excited I became with the marketing world. Like I stepped in, joined as a junior guy, then became an account manager, still doing strategy, like actual work. And then I somehow took over sales and the sales calls and everything. Honestly, like it was a wild, almost 4 years. It was just growth that came because of growth marketing, which was the main kind of theme of that agency. It was like one of the first growth marketing agencies worldwide, and that really helped. We played our cards really well when it comes to SEO, creating content, being out there. Something which we're replicating at SalesCaptain in a different kind of playbook, and we can talk about that. And then it kind of organically came through connections. We started getting a lot more clients. Then we started, because of SEO, getting inbound requests from companies like the companies and organizations like the airport in Singapore, General Electrics, who found us online, jumped on a call with me, and somehow became convinced that we're a good fit to work together. So yeah, that's it. It happened steadily over the course of 4 years, with a lot of hard work, obviously, both on the marketing and the content side of things, and being truthful and honest about what we can do and how we can help at the end of the day.
That's awesome. So, was this agency? Do you say it was it purely SEO agency and the
No,
other?
no,
It wasn't.
they
Sorry.
were getting a lot. It was a growth marketing agency, but they were getting a lot of traffic from SEO because it was ranking well on Google for
I'm I'm
certain keywords.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about these bigger companies being inbound. Then, um, is this a pattern that you've noticed where like the larger companies tend to be inbound, or did you do outbound on any of them? Did you have an outbound motion there as well?
No, so back then we didn't do any outbound and we didn't do any outreach whatsoever. Big companies in general, yes, oftentimes they can come from Google and organic in general. ABM programs and outbound programs definitely work if you're in B2B. But then it's a lot of networking, a lot of events, a lot of conferences, a lot of private dinners and things like that that end up helping you secure large accounts. It's really a relationships game. And again, if by large accounts we mean a company with like 100 employees, that's not a large account. We mean like 1,000 plus, 10,000 employees. Like that's where it's almost purely a relationships game.
Amazing. So when it came to GE and these bigger companies coming inbound and they hopped on a
Yeah.
sales call with you, what do you think not convinced them, but what do you think led to the next sales call? What do you think led to them actually, becoming your client?
Yeah, one of the things is we were catching up before this. I'm not a sales guy. I'm not a salesperson. So I often receive feedback on like how I am on sales calls, and it's like I genuinely try to help. I have the expertise. Like I've been a marketer, whether it's outbound or inbound or SEO, for the last like past like 10 years. So whenever I join these calls, I would like truthfully and honestly try to provide feedback on their go-to-market motion and what needs to be improved. but I'd also be able to answer technical questions. So there wasn't like, oh, I'm talking to a sales guy, I have to, that has to sell to me. I was like, okay, I enjoyed diving into the conversations, feeding them information, and I think that kind of organically built kind of a relationship. And then they were like, okay, I'm comfortable with this guy, because if the rest of the company's like him, that's like a good sign.
Yeah, it comes back to, sales is about helping people and solving their problems, and it doesn't need to be
Yeah,
directly related to what you're offering, but sometimes it can be a little
yeah.
bit unrelated, but people, well, they've helped me in this area, maybe they can help me in this area as well.
Exactly. And there's different types of sales depending on market maturity, depending on what you're selling. Given that I've always been in high ticket, complex technical sales, having a more consultative approach does help, because you need to educate the other person in order for them to take the final step. It's not like we're not selling like candy or something that's purely commoditized.
And how do you build up? How do you get to the point where you are in a good spot selling higher ticket? Because I imagine like the higher the ticket, the longer the sales cycle, and it just takes longer to build. So did were you looking to kind of build up on smaller logos to get bigger logos, or did you say no? If anyone's below this number, we're not gonna, they're not worth it. Like, what was it a case of just going after these bigger fish?
Before someone hits their first million as a company, I don't think that it's wise to focus only on big logos, or to start saying no. For multiple reasons. The primary one is you don't have product market fit, you don't have cash at the bank, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you don't know, you don't know how the service is going to work out, who's going to stay or not. So to start saying no from the get-go, unless it's really obvious that it's a bad fit. I'm not saying we can't serve them, and then obviously, or they were offering SEO and they came in asking for outbound, and we're like, well, we'll do your outbound as well. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, if someone comes to you with a request, whether you think they're 100% of a fit or like 50% of a fit, you should take them on early on in the business for multiple reasons, including the ones I just mentioned. So we didn't specifically go after larger companies. It's just that through the education that took place organically, while and as the agency grew, some larger companies started picking up interest. Same as we're seeing with Outbound, for example, in Clay. Like it's the same kind of analogy as well. You have to have the right foundations in order to sell to bigger organizations. One of them is having revenue and cash flow to sustain, talking to them for like 6 months before they make the decision. But if you're only spending your time chasing those and you're not closing actual pipeline, daily pipeline, it's not going to work.
I think one of the interesting things you mentioned as well about product market fit doesn't just apply to SaaS businesses. Like, we're talking about agencies, right? And
Yeah,
finding the pool of the market wants this new offer,
correct.
it wants this, and there are a lot of parallels between agencies and SaaS. I just think that's quite interesting that you mentioned that.
Yeah, I've naturally been in the B2B SaaS space again for almost the last like 10 years. So it's like, for me, the concept of product market fit, like I don't think of it as like SaaS or non-SaaS. I'm like, maybe offer market fit is a better term, but it's like, okay, what do you offer? What is it that I'm going to get, whether it's a service or whether it's a product? Do I actually want it? Is there an actual demand for this? And just to give an example, like a client of ours is in the cybersecurity space. They sell a commoditized service. They sell protection against cybercrime and attacks. One thing that came up is vibe coding AI attacks. So they're now off. So we came across the news that this is happening more and more. We fed them that idea, and together we worked on an offer, and they now offer protection against AI cybersecurity attacks. So imagine the difference in the message, reaching out and saying, we can help you with cybersecurity, da 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 da, same as every other company would say. And imagine saying, hey, there's now a wave of new AI cybersecurity attacks taking place. No one knows how to protect against them, but we can help. And this is how to do it.
Yeah, it's listening to what are the problems right now, and then evolving
Yeah,
your offer a little bit. And it's like
exactly.
it's like the difference between a hard pivot and a soft pivot. Like a hard pivot would be like going from SEO to, like, you could say outbound. Like it's a little bit different, but then this is like a
Yeah.
softer pivot. So you're currently running SalesCaptain now, which is an outbound agency, right? I know you do a
Yeah.
lot of stuff with Clay, with Lemlist. What is the SalesCaptain like approach to outbound?
Our approach to outbound is it's one of the most stable and sustainable channels for growth. One that should be part of the go-to-market motion of B2B medium to high ticket companies. One that can help your sales team in a lot of ways. One that used to be spammy or used to be either spammy or hard to scale and expensive to scale. Now it can be both cheap to scale and non-spammy. So hard to scale it used to be because you had to have BDRs to do outbound, and that's how a lot of traditional sales teams, including within B2B SaaS, grew. Or spammy because you would scrape a list of people you didn't have any way to figure out if industry marketing means marketing agency, ad tech platform, martech platform, creative agency. So you just reach out. That created a lot of spam. Nowadays, using AI and tools like Clay, you're able to do that filtering beforehand so that when you're reaching out, the level of relevance you have is almost the same as if someone's coming in inbound. And at which point we're now saying outbound as a channel is now inbound. Like outbound has now achieved the same level of relevance as inbound. So we essentially help companies leverage that wave and have scalable, personalized, relevant outbound.
So is it like you're basically doing like inbound led outbound? So you're taking, maybe there's a lot of content and you're taking like signals and looking at, okay, they're liking this or they're visiting our website. And then are you able to, how are you able, maybe I've got the complete wrong end of the stick, please correct me. But what I'm thinking is you're then taking all of that information and then using Clay to be able to reach out to the right people and the right message at the right time. Is that what you're, or is it a little bit different to that?
It's a mix of both. So the first part is it's kind of three layers. The first layer is ICP, what I call ICP-based outreach. I offer software to dentists that helps them with their billing and customer relationships. Awesome. What kind of intent signals do you need? Maybe that a new dentist opened up shop, but because what you offer is something that universally will help every single doctor out there, assuming that that's the case, that it can help them, you should be reaching out to every single doctor out there. That's a dentist and has a clinic. Maybe you don't support multi-location clinics, so you have a way to filter those people out. So the first layer of outbound, which is around like 70 to 80% of the volume, should be ICP based. ICP based, obviously, or maybe technology or infrastructure based or firmographics based, but it has to have a permanent or static business characteristic using which you reach out. And that can be headcount, can be industry, can be technologies that they use, whatever it is. So that's the first layer. The second layer is intent signals. Intent signals, the reason it's the second layer is you need volume and you need sustainable volume. And you also need responses from the market, which in order to get, you need volume and you need sustainable volume. So if you launch intent signals based campaigns, let's say only reaching out to new doctors in your city, it can work, but if you only get 2 prospects to reach out to every month, what are the chances that you're gonna make a sale? Close to zero. So you don't wanna do that. And not only you're not going to sell, you're also not going to receive feedback most likely. So you don't know if the market is going to resonate with your message and you don't have enough prospects. But it's still the most valuable segment of the market to reach out to. So that's why it's like the second layer, intent-based outreach. New hires, people fired, companies expanding, website traffic increase, whatever it might be. And then the third layer, if the company is already running marketing activities and they have leads coming in from other marketing channels. And that's like a really common scenario in PLG, for example, companies. They have traffic to the website that actually converts in free signups, and then only a small percentage of them turns into actual prospects. Like I saw a post from the HeyReach CEO who mentioned that like a really big company, I don't remember if it was like Uber, some company along like that size, signed up twice for their service. They never identified that someone from the company signed up, and they turned twice. If you use inbound and outbound, what you do is the moment someone signs up, you would add them, let's say, on a Clay table. enrich the contact with LinkedIn profile, company data, identify if it's an influencer or coming from a big company in your space, and then be able to treat them differently. Same as if it's a small account, maybe you have another workflow, or maybe you reach out directly. So website SEO traffic, webinar attendees, LinkedIn lead ads, anything that's coming in your way, whether it's lead or traffic, that's what inbound led outbound is, leveraging the inbound wave of interest through outbound channels, like reaching out to them dynamically.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that post. It was lovable. I think it was.
Oh
Um,
yeah, lovable.
it
Yes.
was. It was. It was great. It was a good. I enjoyed that post too. So three layers. Layer one is ICP. Layer two is intent, and layer three
Yeah.
is marketing signal, like leads and sign-ups.
Inbound led outbound, essentially. Yeah.
So what what are you using for your to find ICP? Because the first place is I actually remember hearing from Warmly, and one of the guys there said the thing that people consistently put as their 10 out of 10 problem is I don't know who to reach out to. It comes back to like
Mm-hmm.
the who. So obviously
Yeah.
Clay's got a database. I've used SalesNav. I'm a bit of a noob when it comes to outbound, but I've used SalesNav, but I've really not like found it that great. So what do you use? What do you use to find the right people? And then are you burning through them in the first month, or are you finding different sources every month to find like a leads list one this month, leads list two, and you're able to sustain kind of cold email and outbound for like a year or longer?
Yeah. Good questions. The first one, let's address where do you find them? In my view, there's two really big databases that are worth looking into. The first one is LinkedIn Sales Nav for companies that can be found online. And the second one is Google Maps for local businesses. They're not the only ones. So for example, if you're looking for funding related data, you have Crunchbase. If you're looking for e-com data, you have Store Leads and other platforms like that. If you're looking at Amazon sellers, you have, I don't remember the name, but there's like 2 or 3 platforms specifically for that. So if you're looking for technographic data, you have BuiltWith, for example, and Webalizer. So the main thing is identify what is that static element in your ICP-based outreach that is the most important, where, and it's the same thing as, do you remember when people were saying, oh, which social media platforms should we be part of? Well, do some research and check, maybe in a range of like a city or a specific geo, how many of those target companies of yours can you find? Can you actually find them? There's no way on earth you're going to find dentists or doctors or gym owners on LinkedIn. So your only natural source becomes Google, TripAdvisor, maybe some different ones. If you're into hotels and you want to do outreach to hotels, you'll do Booking, TripAdvisor, Agora, etc., etc. So, and region has to do with it as well, right? Like different regions use Booking versus Agora versus other platforms. So if you want to do outreach in India to hotels, you're probably more wise to find what the local booking platforms are in India and then scrape data from there. So Clay itself is not a database. You can process data from other databases within Clay, pretty much like think of it as like a Google Sheet. So identifying the primary database to use is one of the things that you should be doing, along with mapping out the size of your market, because the knowledge of what platforms to use and also how many prospects you have will also allow you to estimate. Let's say you reach out to 5,000 prospects a month and your total addressable market is like 100,000 people, then you know you can run campaigns for like 20 months, however many months that is. If you have fewer than 5 or 10,000 companies you can sell to, most likely you shouldn't be doing automated sending. And assuming that you have high deal sizes, that's a case where you shouldn't be doing outbound in that way. You can still find the companies, and it's more important than ever to find the companies, find the people within the companies, do a lot of enrichment, know exactly who they are, but you need a different strategy. Most likely, you need actual BDRs and an account-based marketing approach. Or if you have a small TAM and low deal sizes, you probably don't have a good business model. So Again, you have to find the right data source for your needs. Typically, LinkedIn and Google Maps are like two good places to get started because they represent maybe 70% of the generic data sources. And then from that place and onwards, you can identify new ones. And then on your monthly planning for outbound, you can compare between different data sources and what kind of difference in the response rates you get from each source. So you can, maybe your data source is people on Facebook groups. Maybe it's people on agent list, whatever.
That's really interesting. And so you've worked out your TAM. You've got 100,000 people. You start off with say, look, LinkedIn might be the place or Google Maps, and you pull the data and you go, right, I'm going to reach out to these people. Are you viewing it that once you've reached out to them once, that's it? You don't reach out to them again, or are you viewing it that you can kind of, you're doing it in waves, and then how does that like impact how you do outbound? For example, if I were to send a really pushy email, chances are they might not reach out again. But if I say sent them a really useful resource and said, I just wanted to send this to you, and then they maybe sign up, maybe don't, but it opens the door to like reach out to them again. Like, what's your method to doing outbound?
How many non-relevant emails that you received last month do you remember? Like, do you remember the companies, the topic, the people that sent them, what they were about?
No.
Cool. So the concept of burning your TAM is the biggest bullshit I've ever heard.
Thank you. Thank you for
How many ads for female hygiene products do you remember seeing around you? I'm not saying in your fucking inbox, I'm saying around you. Sorry, I get so angry because I get that as a question so often. And people are like, oh, you're gonna burn our TAM, the company's good impression. I'm like, what good impression, dudes? If the other person doesn't resonate, it's as good as if you'd never sent it. Obviously, you have the sensitivity of the spam filter, so you don't want to reach out to 50 people from the same company in the same month. So one of the variables there is how many prospects can you generate per company. If you're reaching out to Fortune 5,000 companies, you don't want to reach out to every single individual in the company in the same month because that might be hundreds of people. So you definitely want to stagger that over the course of like 3, 4, 5, 6 months, not reaching out to more than 10 people per month. And then what we typically do is we try to reach out to every prospect once every quarter. That's it. Once every quarter, 4 emails, 4 days apart. That's kind of like the overall recipe. You obviously have differentiation based on the market, based on the industry, etc. But kind of like as a rule of thumb, once every quarter should be the minimum. And yes, other than spam filters, figuring out what your domains are, and meaning that if you are reaching out to the same audience, you probably need to refresh your infrastructure maybe every 3 to 6 months, and also your messaging, like your messaging 100% cannot be the same. Other than that, yeah, please recontact. We call it recontacting internally, so please recontact your prospects.
Awesome.
Because if you have something valuable to share, it's on you to reach out to them. If you don't have something valuable to share with people, close your business. Like, do me this favor, close your business. Don't sell, like, stop it. If you feel to your core that you have something valuable and you know that there is a specific audience that you can help, it's your duty as a founder, business owner, head of sales, head of whatever, to actually make it to their inbox and reach out.
I really appreciate you clarifying that, and it sounds like it comes from a place of having good content. It could be a really good lead magnet, it could be an amazing resource, but one that you're like, this is going to help, my target customer like have a better outcome. So are you saying that it's really is it really dependent on having really good content, and can you make it work without good content? Or yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, the majority of our campaigns don't rely on good content. They're more bottom of funnel. Not to say that depending on the response from the market, we don't tweak that, but A, you'd be stupid not to start your outreach by reaching out to the furthest, the highest, closest to the top that you can, and B, not reach out with as close to bottom of the funnel messaging as you can. Because it might actually work, because you don't know what the market wants until you reach out to the market. So obviously, If it means that you reach out for 2 weeks with a bottom of the funnel messaging, no one resonates, by all means, stop using it. Go higher up in the funnel. And that's where you can look into resources, buying courses and giving them out, buying them coffee, buying them a copy of the book of Alex Hormozy, whatever it takes.
Wow. So what we're saying is let's start closest to bottom of funnel. And then if that
Yeah,
doesn't work out, literally then going further
yeah,
and further up.
yeah.
Because
I
it's
was
low
talking
hanging
with
fruit
someone from,
first, isn't it?
sorry?
Sorry. It's low hanging fruit first.
That's what marketing has always been about. It's just that if you approach this from a sales mindset and with a sales mindset, you don't think about it like that. But because I've spent 10 years in marketing and Outbound is now becoming a marketing channel, it's really easy for me to like see through these things. Because I understand the concept of a funnel, I understand the concept. And the other thing as well is like, let's say you offer cybersecurity or web development services. If I'm not in the market to buy a website, nothing you're gonna say or do is gonna make me buy a website. So that's why I mentioned before, reach out like every quarter, maybe twice a year. Obviously, you need the intent signals and all that. Like, don't try to reach out to everyone. But if your market is not on the market until it is on the market, you should be reaching out multiple times. Otherwise, it just loses its value. And the last thing is, when outbound is relevant, it does work as an awareness channel. And this is another misconception that people have. They only expect outbound to work to bring conversions. And that's, people are greedy. What can I say? But if you approach outbound as a way to make an intro, instead of saying, hi, hello, yeah, let's get married today. And instead you say, hey, I'm Bill. Nice to meet you. What do you do? I work with X, Y, and Z types of companies. Are you there? What kind of problems are you facing? So I don't think you necessarily have to offer value. You can just genuinely also connect, depending on the channel. Maybe it's LinkedIn. Connect with the other person. If you have something interesting to say, they'll probably go to the website and check you out. And then when they're ready to buy, especially if you keep them a little bit warmed up, maybe reaching out every quarter, they'll reach back to you and say, hey, Bill, we're thinking about changing our CRM, and we know you guys actually do CRM implementation. Do you want to help us? The amount of times we've reached out to people, we've jumped on a call, they went with a different solution, discontinued the project, decided to do it later, and then they come back to us like 6 months later. I had a call like this today. It's just crazy. Like, we generate pipeline that ends up closing 6 to 12 months later with outbound. And that's the other thing. Like, you have to think of it as a long-term awareness and nurturing channel. Yes, by all means, go bottom of funnel, see if you can get those conversions. If you can, instead of either saying that outbound doesn't work or changing channels completely, go a little bit higher up. Invite them for a dinner, invite them to play golf, whatever it takes.
It's incredible what you've just said, because I didn't really think about it before, but it is almost exactly the same as posting, but just different. Like, posting is very
Yeah,
much like, you can have a top of funnel viral post that captures, you can have a middle of funnel which is social proof or a case study,
exactly.
you can have bottom of funnel, and it's just one to many. Like, you're not targeting one person, whereas the
Yeah.
outbound version is, you are literally targeting one person, even if you've automated it, and
Yes.
you can hit every section of the funnel, which I never thought about before.
Yeah.
Um,
But if your mindset is, I'm either going to get sales now or this doesn't work, you're screwed, because that's the sales mentality. Usually, whenever we try to work with a company and there's only people from sales involved, they're going to ask for an ROI the next month. Why? Because they're used to the old paradigm of like, I hire BDRs. The whole purpose of a BDR is to bring me positives and meetings booked. And if the BDR doesn't bring me positives and meetings booked, it's dead wood, as they say in sales. Outbound is not the same. And that's why I mentioned before, like, outbound is not a marketing channel.
sorry, it is or it isn't a marketing channel. Sorry,
Is a marketing channel.
it is.
Yeah.
I'm obviously, your background is in marketing. So a question for you then is, like you say, sales can be much more ROI focused. So let's make the ask today, whereas marketing
Yeah.
might be, let's give and give. How do you find the right balance then of like, I think about, I'm always just like, I'll just keep giving. I don't even, I'll just keep, because your goodwill meter keeps going up and up and up. And then
Yeah.
when you need to hit that ask post or ask, you're good. But how do you think about that with outbound? Like, how do you know when is the right time to make an ask?
You can look into signals. So one of the signals might be company visiting your website, right? One of the tests that we do, for example, within the first 3 months, especially if we're not getting replies, but we are getting a lot of clicks and opens in campaigns, is we'll go to the website and we'll check at the website company identification software, and we'll compare the list of companies visiting with the list of companies we've reached out to. And then we'll know that, for example, in that case, if companies visit the website and don't respond, there's probably a problem with the website, the offering, the way it's positioned, maybe it's not clear enough. So in exactly the same way, you can use the same signal, if it's tied to getting a response in the past, to actually say, hey, I saw you visiting our website, or you don't have to mention that. Do you want to jump on a call? Do you want to discuss further? So it has to do with that as well. Also, you don't have to do that. You can just connect with them on LinkedIn. We have few precious connections every month. People who actually engage with your campaigns, amongst other things, connect with them on LinkedIn, and then by generating content on LinkedIn, they can more easily convert organically.
Wow, awesome. So what what outbound tech stacks would you advise for companies at different stages? So, you could think of a small budget being $500 a month, like medium
Yeah.
being 1,000, and large being, I don't know, more than 3,000. What would you say to each of them?
I'd say if you're a small company, you need to be as lean as you can be. So one database, one validation tool, because unfortunately we can't go without them, and then one sending tool. So that could be either Lemlist or Instantly for the sending part. Lemlist also includes LinkedIn, and then maybe Apollo, because it is an all-in-one database. It's not the most efficient one if you can compare it with like Clay, but it is a super decent one. And then Zero Bounds potentially for data validation. As you scale, you probably rely a little bit more on Clay and custom, in data scraping sources, maybe a custom warehouse. You can have, let's say, Instantly and HeyReach and do LinkedIn as well. Like there's other ways you can grow. If you're a bigger company, you probably have a CRM that you need to keep in close alignment with your outbound campaigns, because oftentimes you will run campaigns to the same audience. Same as, why do BDRs reach out to the same companies multiple times, right? It's intuitive if a human does it. If we try to automate, people start barking. So the Lemlist, for example, has a two-way sync with HubSpot. So campaigns you run within Lemlist, you can see the messaging within HubSpot. So as you grow, your issues are more around data quality, making sure that data is clean on the CRM as well. Having maybe multi-channel, having phone and cold calling as part of the campaign. So as you grow, you add complexity. So your tool stack might, include these tools, might include Gorgias for getting feedback from the sales calls, a lot of other things. And then you might even build custom infrastructure. Like we have one or two clients that do such huge volumes that we've built completely custom infrastructure, custom models for copywriting messages, custom databases for storing data, and it's like a much more complicated kind of process for that. Custom sending servers and all that.
Oh, thank you. And so you've authored one of the biggest books out there on outbound, called Cold Email Secrets. What would you, for anyone kind of thinking about reading the book, or wants to learn more about outbound, what can they take away from it?
What can they take away from it? Pretty much at some point, I don't know what hit me, and I said, let me compile the foundations of outbound in a book, like so that someone can go through it. So it pretty much includes, and it was written 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. It feels like it was ages ago, but yeah, it's like a year and a half ago, in the pre-Clay era. But still, the foundations haven't changed, so everything's exactly the same. So you still have the exact same components. So it's a really good overview of all things cold email specifically, and has a lot of insights, a lot of templates, a lot of templates around how to use Outbound and streamline the process that I have used like myself and we've implemented for clients. And it has literally been, I've used the same techniques to get responses from the CEO of Microsoft, from Satya Nadella, the leadership teams at Apple, get the speakers for AdWorld, like I'd use the same exact tools and methodologies. So yeah, it's a really good overview if you want to get started with cold email. It's a good way to do it, and it's not a big book. I think it's like 180 pages or something like that.
Awesome. We are. I know we've got 15 minutes, and I've got quite a few more questions. So we'll go into like a semi-quick fire, where
Cool.
we'll go through. But so on top of everything else, you host the London Clay Club. What goes on there? What does this entail?
It's thinking back to when we started it. I think it was the first clay club to be hosted worldwide. I might be mistaken, but like it was definitely one of the first few. What goes on there? We share and get back the love that we have for clay and all the awesome use cases. Get to network with people, get to meet other cool clay builders, GTM engineers, etc. And that's what it's all about. Like this, that's pretty much all there is. We recently hosted the Clay Cup quarterfinals in London, one of the biggest events Clay has hosted so far, and brightest and amazing and like heartwarming. It was an amazing event. And we're actually now going to be hosting within September, we're going to be hosting the Clay Cup semifinals in SF. Which is also exciting, and we're hosting another awesome event, Clay Club event SF, at the same day. So it's a 2-in-1 event. So yeah, that's what goes on at Clay Clubs around the world. It's like people who care about go-to-market, people who are there before others, people who want to learn, come together. It's an open environment. Anyone that wants to can share. We usually have speakers or panels, use cases, people who have used Clay in different ways, tools that integrate with Clay. I think we're doing one with HeyReach quite soon. And it's a good place to learn, network, make friends, have other people that understand what waterfall enrichment is or waterfall. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I love
And I
it.
love teaching, so it's like for me it's been like, oh yeah, an audience of people that want to hear me speak about Clay for like an hour non-stop. Amazing, bring me more.
And also, like you've obviously done AdWorld as well, so I imagine like putting together
Yeah,
these events and stuff is something that you've done and got experience with.
I went into marketing because I love, and I still do, creating positive experiences for people. That's how I feel about like marketing messaging and channels and marketing done right. And in-person event is all of that in one.
Because I know you went to TechPon, but like when you're there and
Yeah,
you're sharing memories and you're meeting people, you just you hear the word TechPon or you see their logo and you get a flashback to that feeling that you had while you're there. So it's so true, and you get this
yeah,
from events, right? So is there a link
yeah, yeah.
that I can put in the description for people to have a look at?
You mean for the Click Club SF?
That's it,
They
yeah.
can DM me on LinkedIn, and I'll send them the link right away because it's a Luma link, but we can definitely put it there.
Awesome, perfect. And another one though. So you've trained I think 2,500 plus marketers the last 5 or 10
Yeah,
years. What would you say separates a good marketer from a great marketer?
relevance. That's it. The one ingredient which is the same across every profession, caring about it, it being your ikigai, as the Japanese would say, and then relevance. What's the difference between good marketing and bad marketing? What's a difference between something you end up buying and something you consider spam messaging or marketing? It's relevance. So as long as you obsess about relevance for a specific kind of audience, you'll be fine. Because marketing will always continue changing. Digital marketing was just considered like a subset of marketing 10 years ago when we were started, and now it's like the biggest part of what marketing is. Like the channel itself, digital tech overtook marketing. And marketing is now just following, oh, what's trendy? Oh, Instagram filters. Oh, TikTok reels, whatever it is. Yeah. So
And
that's the cycle.
That's awesome.
relevance.
Relevance, caring about
Yeah,
obviously being curious, caring, but relevance. How do you as a marketer be relevant? Because I guess this comes back to like making content or making stuff or putting on an event that excites
yeah,
people, that hits their, like Play Club. I imagine it doesn't hit anyone's pay points. You might correct me, but it's an event that people are really pulled to come towards. Like, what
yeah,
what can a marketer do? Because I guess my perspective is salespeople go and speak to customers a lot more than marketers do. So how can
yeah.
marketers find out how to be relevant?
So for someone to be relevant, they have to be obsessive about a certain audience. They would have to want to go deep and meet their target audience, which obviously for salespeople it's much easier because the nature of what they do is like one-on-one communication. For marketers, it's a little bit harder, but the same principles are out there. Like go out there and talk to your audience. Like why should sales be the only ones having calls with their audience? Like Paul, your top 5, 10% customers and check in with them. Why did you buy this product or service? How hard was it before buying it? What are the main use cases? Like, unless you do that, you don't have the feedback from the market, or you only rely on what the sales team is saying. So, yeah, in order to achieve relevance, you have to care about your audience and your market, and that's the only way to get there. And then, you're either lucky enough to be part of the audience you're selling to, or obsessed with that audience. And the last thing is like marketing doesn't always have to be about pain points. Like I really want to believe and hope that there's other things and reasons that we buy for other than we're hurting the entire day, because that would create like the paradigm for a really miserable life.
Yeah, you are right. It's almost like I don't know if this relates to loss aversion. It's like people weight the negatives bigger than the positives.
Yeah. Yeah,
But we
because we chicken brain. Like we're all programmed to look out for the lion, for the snake, for danger. Because we grew up, we tend to forget, I guess. But we grew up in the jungle. We grew up with enemies around us. What's your enemy right now? It's endless scrolling, overeating, um, things like that. Bullying online, like it's non physical, but our brains are still wired like that because we're wired for survival because we're animals at the end of the day. So we still get hooked on chasing different kind of stimuli. But again, my point is like marketing can also inspire, can provide all. Look at Microsoft's 1984 ad, which is like whoa, like still to this day. So there's other feelings that marketing and marketers can tap into that don't necessarily have to be fear of missing out or pain points. Which is a good example of it is like Clay and Clay Club. You don't come to the Clay Club necessarily because maybe your pain is like you don't have enough people to network and connect with, but hopefully after you visit for the first time, like you come back and the feeling is like, oh, I've found my tribe.
I love that. Yeah, yeah. It's a funny one. We do hope that it isn't just about survival and pain. I think
Mm-hmm.
speaking to a couple of sales tech companies, I'm thinking about yourself as well, because I'm naturally wired to think about the pains, like because of obviously this, and you think sales tech, what you do outbound, it's a company's survival rests in the balance of landing new clients and sales, which you
Yeah.
help. But then obviously like you don't want to be using fear-based tactics, you don't want to be doing unethical
Mm-hmm.
sales. And
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of the time why we just state like I don't know, we learn to just state facts. We're not trying to like put pressure on people. We're just trying to say
Yeah.
this is what we've learned, you need this. But it's hard to link it to desire. Do you know what I mean? What would you say to someone? How would you link outbound to desire rather than pain?
You mean wanting to do outbound or messaging through outbound channels?
Yeah, if you were to, if a new client was to come to you, or prospect, sorry, was to come to you,
Mm-hmm.
how would you approach them without being too trying to be more positive?
I mean, there's either problems. If you do a SWOT analysis, there's problems and there's opportunities as well. There's threats and opportunities. I think outbound is an opportunity right now. I think AI in marketing and sales is creating a big opportunity for companies. So you don't really have to be fear-based or problem-based. Yes, BDRs hate doing manual work, so sure, you can, tap into that, but it's also a cost-effective channel. So you don't have to necessarily say, oh, this is a problem, this is a threat. No, this is an opportunity. This is amazing. You don't have nothing to lose, but you have a lot to gain. So, you'd be a fool not to do it. And that's, I think, how companies are approaching it right now. So yeah, that's what I would say, honestly. And comparing the paradigm, like what there was, either costly to scale and not necessarily always efficient. How many BDRs actively personalize every template, or mass spam? Like, these were the two choices you were dealt. Now there's a new choice, and it's on you whether you want to explore that or not. The danger, if there is a danger, is your competitor is actually going to be doing the same and be doing it more effectively. But, that matters and maybe doesn't matter. But the opportunity is there, and it's true.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think you can think about it as well as like if you're selling to a sales team, you've got the individual, you've got the team, and you've got the company, and it's like you could start saying, well, if sales performance goes up, like you might get a bonus, you might get this, you might get that. Like you can spin it into all the positives and get them excited as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like the way you're viewing things, and so
There's a nice expression from The Office. Michael Scott says, the manager says, do I want to be feared or loved? The answer is simple, both. I want them to fear how much they love me. That's it.
fear. I've not heard that before. Fear how much they love me.
Yeah.
Because if they lose that love, then it's the fear of losing that love. Yeah, that's a really good saying. I love
The,
um
the, the editors at The Office and the people who wrote the script are really something else.
so um you've spoken with some huge names in marketing: Seth Godin, Rory Sutherland,
Yeah.
uh, Scott Galloway. Were there
Hmm.
any conversations that stood out to you?
Yeah, there was a lot of the conversation with Seth Godin, especially I got to speak with him in when AI was like still in like the early days, and everyone was trying to navigate how that's gonna affect their lives. I don't remember if it was him, but like it was one of the first times I heard someone say, you shouldn't fear AI, you should fear other people in the marketplace using AI to be more effective than you are. I think it was like one of the first time I heard that. Um, the conversation with the head of creative shop at Meta, who's like in charge of helping Meta advertisers, like the largest brands, were also quite motivational, because he also spoke about how marketing can be a positive force. And these were like two of my like most favorite like I think I teared up like in with like both conversations. And then Seth Godin, how he explains that it's our duty to create content and get it out there. It's just, yeah, a mindset shift, essentially.
This not just what you've said there, but the conversation before. It's like we actually have an amazing opportunity as marketers to create amazing content that is positive, that helps people, that gets them away from scrolling, that adds value to their life, their professional life. We actually have the power to do that, and it's quite an amazing
Yeah,
thing if you think about it. And we don't have to subscribe to the status quo. Sometimes we can really be the positive side, because at the end of the day, it's about standing out. And if you can stand out by being
exactly.
really positive, then that's a win.
There's only two places to operate from: fear and love, and you can choose. One of them is definitely more enjoyable than the other, and more rewarding, and helps you sleep calmer at night, and helps you, feel like you do work that matters, even if it's not immediately recognized. That's To speak to that example. The SalesCaptain team has been putting out content nonstop for the past like a year and a half. Not salesy content, it's just content that we would consume, that we find useful, that we come across, experiments that we run, things that we, see in the market, changes in outbound and go to market. Yeah, sure, we do it because we ultimately want to see an ROI, but like the immediate ROI is like people learn from that content, people DM us and say, that was amazing, and that's like the best kind of reward that you can have. And it's also the best kind of sign that we're here for the long run, like we're here to play a long-term game. And that when you're there, the essence of branding, because branding and marketing is like really close siblings. The essence of branding is like the promise that you make that I'm going to be here tomorrow and the day after, and when things change and when you still have the same need but the environment has changed, to help you fulfill the same need and go in the same direction. It's all about like converging towards the same direction. That's what the sale is. It's like giving someone the promise, I'm here to walk with you on the same path. We care about the same things. Let's do this together. That's the power. That's the positive side of marketing. And branding is just repeating that promise again and again to the point where people associate you with that kind of trajectory.
It's so interesting what you say, because you're saying that a lot of the content you put out isn't necessarily about Sales Captain, and there's a parallel with podcasting, which is when I first started the podcast, I thought I had to ask, say yourself, questions on Sales Captain and about Sales Captain and tell me about what makes you
Yeah.
different. And the more I realize is actually the best way I can serve you is to just get as much value to that I can give, to chop them up, to share them, because what you realize is B2B buyers aren't stupid. When they are ready to buy, they will
Yeah.
research you. They'll go,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, Bill's given me so much value. I'm actually going to look at Bill and I'm going to look at
Yeah.
his profile and I'm going to hit what does his website button say?" And they might not be in market, but they know, and then 6 months later they're in market, and it's value. It's just value, isn't it?
Yeah.
So.
It's like, does he seem like an expert? Is he trustworthy? Is he a nice guy?
And what fascinates me is you've done this. You've done this through Outbound as well, which
Yeah.
in my head before speaking to it was that's more of a sales, and you're saying no, it's marketing, and that is the big mindset shift. I think this is the big
Yeah.
takeaway from today. Um,
Yeah.
for founders, I obviously want to wrap up soon because I don't want to take you too far past. I want you to be able to crack on. But just a couple of final questions then. So for founders building a GTM motion in 2025, what's the biggest advice you'd give them?
Do it fast. Go to market fast. Don't overthink, which is my advice in general when talking about go to market and growth. And then learn from the negatives. Learn from people who say no. What are their objections? Why are they saying no? And use those signals as a sign of product market fit. Have the humility and the humbleness to change your offer or do mini pivots, as you said, if it seems like it doesn't resonate with the market. There's always something you're going to be able to offer on an email that people are going to say yes to if you believe in what you're saying and what you're doing. And I discovered this the easiest way when I was doing outreach for AdWorld, and that's how I booked 100 speakers every 6 months and some really big names in there, including CMOs from Mastercards and companies like that. The way I did it is I reached out and I had something they wanted, a speaking opportunity at the largest marketing conference in the space and the ability for them to share, with people that care about the message. So I had something that was valuable. I could have said, I don't know, pay for marketing services and no one would have responded. So the exact same person with one email account can have a night and day of responses and receptivity to the message depending on what you're saying. So there is something that you're going to find that's going to be valuable to your market that you are going to be able to share to get replies. You just have to figure out what it is.
Figure out what value you can give people.
Yeah, what that value looks like for your market right now, given your competition, given if commoditization or not, given what's hot, given the trends, etc., etc. Yeah.
Awesome. And so finally, what's next for you, Bill, and what's next for Sales Captain?
What's next for me? Immediately next is a trip to San Francisco, speaking at Inbound, hosting the Clay Club, hosting workshops at Clay's Sculpt conference. So September is going to be a full month. What's next for SalesCaptain? I think it's hitting another revenue milestone quite soon that we're working on as a team, and having our team grow in a meaningful way again. We're still like a small company, but the way that you grow is quite meaningful in the younger kind of, it's same as a kid. Like the first steps are harder to make, but they're super impactful. So growing Sales Captain, and then along the same lines, taking some time to unwind towards the end of the year. And potentially I've missed Asia, so I think a trip to Thailand and a few countries nearby quite soon. My co-founder is from the region, so I've spent quite a bit of time. Whenever I spend like more than half a year away from Asia, I still somehow miss it.
Oh, I love it. It sounds like a jam-packed year, and yeah,
Yeah,
inbound's coming up early September, right? So that'll be
it's
good.
3, 4, and 5 of September. Yeah,
If you see Coefficient, we did their video for their inbound campaign. So just
nice.
have a look at that. It's Who Stole My
Of
Lead.
course.
It's awesome, Bill. And I'll and final question then: where can
Go ahead.
people find you and learn more about you and Sales Captain?
LinkedIn and Instagram. On Instagram, there's photos of trips and travels. On LinkedIn, there's everything that we learn as a team and everything around outbound and go to market that we care about and we want to share. So I'd say these two places.
Awesome, and I'll put a link in the description to both of those. So, Bill, look, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on today. It's just been a lot of mindset shifts, and I think there's just a lot of value here for marketers, salespeople, and beyond. So, thank you.
It was a pleasure, man. Thank you for the invite again, and really glad that we could make it meaningful.